Let's start our next topic, reflection of sound. Let's do an activity to understand about reflection of sound. Let's make two long and identical tubes out of a cardboard. Name them as tube A and tube B. Arrange these tubes on a table in front of a wall. Let us place clock near the end of tube A. Now let us try to hear ticking of the clock by placing ear at the end of tube B. Adjust the angle between two tubes till the sound can be heard very clearly. At this angle we can clearly hear the sound. Let us now draw lines along the tubes. Draw the normal to the wall and mark the angle of incidence as θ1 and angle of reflection as θ2. Now measure the angle of incidence and angle of reflection. From this activity we studied the reflection of sound and also angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. Now what will happen if one of the tubes is lifted vertically to some height? If the tube B is lifted vertically to some height, the ticking sound of the clock cannot be heard through the other end of that tube, because the reflected sound travels in the plane containing the incident sound wave and normal drawn to the wall. Hence, reflected wave cannot travel to tube B. This shows that the direction in which sound is incident and reflected makes equal angles with the normal to the reflecting surface at the point of incidence, and all the three lie in the same plane. Sound waves get reflected from a surface of solid as well as liquid like that of. Sound waves also follow the laws of reflection. The reflection of sound is possible from a smooth or rough surface, but the amount of sound getting reflected depends upon the reflectors. Good and bad reflectors of sound. How much of the incident sound gets reflected decides whether a reflector is a good or a bad reflector. A hard and flat surface is a good reflector. The substances which absorb sound instead of reflecting it are called bad reflectors. Now next we will learn about echo. If you visit a picnic spot in mountains, you generally come across a point called echo point. When we shout loudly there, we hear some sound just after a little while. This sound is called an echo. An echo is the repetition of the original sound because of reflection by some surface. In order to be able to hear the original sound and its reflection directly at 22 degrees Celsius, what must be the minimum distance between the source of sound and the reflecting surface? At 22 degrees Celsius, the velocity of sound in air is 344 meters per second. Our brain retains a sound for 0.1 second. So for us to able to hear an echo, the sound should take more than 0.1 seconds after starting from the source to get reflected and come back to the same place. The minimum distance between the source and the reflecting surface can be determined by the formula. Distance is equals to speed multiplied by time, and speed is 344 meters per second times 0.1 seconds. So distance will be equals to 34.4 meters. So to hear a distinct echo, the reflecting surface should be at a minimum distance of half of 34.4 meters. That is, it should be at least 17.2 meters. The distance between the source of the sound and reflecting surface depends on the temperature also. The velocity of sound is temperature dependent quantity. The velocity of sound in air is directly proportional to the square root of the temperature of air. Also, the velocity of sound increases with the increasing temperature as it is directly proportional. For an echo to be heard distinctly, the minimum distance between the source of sound and reflecting surface should be more than the higher temperature. Also, the distance between the source of sound and reflecting surface cannot be same at all temperatures to hear the echo distinctly. Next, we'll learn about reverberation. Sound waves get reflected from the walls and roof of a room multiple times. Repeated reflections of sound waves from the walls combine to build up what seems like a continuous sound. This causes a single sound to be heard not once but continuously. This sound is called reverberation. The time between successive reflections of a particular sound wave reaching us becomes smaller and the reflected sounds get mixed up and produce a continuous sound of increased loudness which cannot be dispersed clearly. Some auditoriums or some particular seats in the auditorium have an inferior sound reflectors. Excessive reverberation is not desirable as the speech of the speaker or the pitch of the music cannot be heard clearly due to the mixing of reflected waves and direct waves produced after the production of earlier waves. Some auditoriums, public halls, or buildings are considered acoustically poor because of reverberation. To reduce reverberation, the roof and wall of the public halls are generally covered with sound-absorbing materials such as compressed fiberboard, rough plaster, or curtains. The material of the seat is chosen such that it absorbs sound waves to the desired extent. Next, we'll learn about sonar, sound navigation and ranging. This technique is used to determine the direction, distance, and speed of underwater object with the help of ultrasonic sound waves. Sonar consists of a transmitter and a receiver which are fitted on the ships or the boats. The transmitter produces and transmits ultrasonic sound waves. The waves travel through the water, strike underwater objects, and get reflected by them. The reflected waves are received by the receiver on the ship. The receiver converts the ultrasonic sound into electrical signals and these signals are properly interpreted. The time difference between transmission and reception of the ultrasound is recorded. The time difference between the transmission and reception of the ultrasound is t, velocity is v. Sonar is used to determine the depth of the sea. Sonar is also used to search underwater hills, valleys, submarines, icebergs, and sunken ships. Next, we'll learn about sonography. Sonography technique uses ultrasonic sound waves to generate images of the internal organs of the human body. Ultrasound waves can penetrate the human body. These sound waves can get reflected by different types of use such as bones, fats, and muscles. This method is painless. Due to these properties, ultrasound is being used increasingly in medical practice for correct diagnosis. This technique makes use of a probe and a gel. The gel is applied to the skin outside the internal organ to be examined. The gel makes proper contact between the skin and the probe so that the full capacity of the ultrasound can be utilized when the high frequency ultrasound is transmitted inside the body with the help of probe. The sound reflected from the internal organ is again collected by the probe and fed to a computer which generates the images of the internal organs. The sonography method is useful in finding out the cause of swelling, infection, and pain. Ultrasound is also used for determining the conditions of the heart as well as the state of the heart after heart attack. The use of ultrasound waves to investigate the action of the heart is called echocardiography. High frequency ultrasound waves are used to break kidney stones into fine grains so that they can be later removed from the kidney along with the urine. The ultrasound scans are used to monitor the development of an unborn baby inside the mother's uterus. Any growth abnormalities of unborn baby during pregnancy can be detected. The ultrasound method is a safer way of checking whether the baby is developing normally or not. Next, we'll learn about human ear. The ear is an important sense organ of the human body through which we hear sounds. When sound waves fall on the eardrum, it vibrates. These vibrations are converted into electrical signals which travel to brain through waves. The ear can be divided into three major parts: outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. The outer ear, also called pinna, collects the sound waves and passes them through a tube called auditory canal to a cavity in the middle ear. Its peculiar funnel-like shape helps to collect and pass sound into the middle ear. There it is then thin membrane in the cavity of the middle ear called eardrum. We know that sound waves consist of compressions and rarefactions. When a compression in a sound wave reaches the eardrum, the pressure on the outside of eardrum increases and pushes the eardrum inwards. The opposite happens when a rarefaction reaches there. The pressure on the outside of the eardrum decreases and pushes the eardrum outwards. Thus, the sound waves cause vibration of the membrane. The inner ear has a structure resembling the shell of a snail. It is called coccyla. The coccyla receives the vibration coming from the membrane and converts them into electrical signal. The electrical signals are sent to the brain through the auditory nerve. The auditory nerve connects the inner ear to the brain. The brain analyzes these signals and we get sensation of hearing.